Hello, my name is Ellie and this is what I did next. So, welcome to my garden and I'm going to show you what I've been up to. I am an amateur gardener. I've been trying to grow vegetables for quite a few years now, sometimes more successfully than at other times. Don't take this as a tutorial for anything. We're here for the vibes, not the education. So the first thing I want to talk about is my sunflowers. So I have grown sunflowers before and I did harvest seeds from them, but I've lost the seeds. So this year I bought plugs. So plugs are small plants that you can buy from a garden centre, and that saves you the trouble of growing them from seeds, because sometimes growing from seeds can be a bit hit and miss. Some of them will germinate, some of them won't. And I know that from last year I planted loads of sunflower seeds, a whole packet's worth, and one worked. It's going to be interesting to see how they grow, because I put half of them in a trough in the shade and half of them in a trough in the full sun. So it'll be interesting to see which ones really thrive and if they get eaten. So I also bought carrot plugs because I couldn't find those seeds either. Carrots have been a bit hit and miss for me. I've grown carrots for a few years now. When I first got into gardening, I actually grew them in Pringle tubes. That actually worked. So if you've got Pringle tubes that you can't recycle, then that is something you can do with them. Sometimes I've been successful, and then like last year, I was not very successful at all. So I heard that you weren't meant to put loads of nutrition in the soil, because with carrots, they will end up just growing a lot of leaves and not very much underneath. And so I went a bit crazy with not making sure there wasn't any fertiliser or anything, and then it went a bit pear-shaped. So this year I've gone for plugs and we'll see what happens. They're also rainbow carrots, which is exciting, so that means they should be shades of orange, white and purple. We have had purple carrots before, but I would say don't cook purple carrots with other vegetables because it will turn them purple. I had cooked some purple carrot with some peas one time and the peas were black. So bear that in mind. The other thing I'm doing this year, which is new, is that I'm sort of using an indoor greenhouse in a way. Basically, up until the beginning of this year, I had giant African land snails that look like this. And when they passed, I decided to use their enclosure to grow seedlings in this year, because it seems to be the perfect environment for that. And it's worked amazingly. When I used to feed the snails tomatoes, the tomato seeds would just sprout up in there like crazy. And so sometimes I would just take those sprouted tomatoes and plant them out from there and grow tomatoes in the summer. But I'm very excited because on the left-hand side we've got Cucamelon. So apparently they look kind of like grape-sized watermelons and they taste like sour cucumber, and you can use them in salads and things. I've tried to grow that for years and I've never got a single sprout come up. So the fact that they all seem to have germinated, or most of them have, is really, really exciting. I've also got catnip in there, because I did have catnip as a plant that I grew last year, but so many neighbourhood cats came and ate it that it's all died. So I've had to start again, but that's okay. I've also got some flowers growing in there actually, some tilly flowers, so like bloom flowers. The reason why they're in there is because my cat passed at the beginning of last year and her name was Tilly, and so we decided to buy flowers that were her name in order to put in her memorial flower pot. Got some chocolate pepper in there. I found these seeds that I'd forgotten about, and they're basically like brown bell peppers. I'm not sure how I feel about that, and actually none of them have sprouted so far, but I have grown peppers before and they do take a few weeks to germinate, because basically I planted a core of a pepper that I'd used for cooking, and I thought, oh, instead of throwing this out, why just throw it in a pot? And I watered it diligently for like a couple of weeks and nothing was happening, so I gave up. Until one day Mum came up to me and was like, what's this? And there were all these seedlings that had come up in this pot. I did manage to grow another pepper, so let's hope that it's just taking a little while, a bit like the beans, which I will get to. The bottom right you see is Mizuna, which is a type of lettuce type thing. I'm sure my dad will be very excited about that. He loves what he calls his leaves. He adds leaves to like every dinner that you have, even if it doesn't make sense. But the top right hand corner, which I'm very excited about, is you can see a tiny little sprout in there if you look very closely. And that is a Ukrainian melon. Or, well, it might not have originally grown in Ukraine, but I went to Ukraine about 7 years ago. I volunteered as a youth camp leader, and they served us this watermelon. It was an amazing watermelon, and so I saved seeds from it, thinking, oh, I'll grow that when I get back. And I put them in a safe place, and I lost them, but I rediscovered them earlier this year. They're all dried up, shriveled. They look like they wouldn't do anything, you know, but I thought, you know what, I will just throw them in there, see what happens. And it looks like one of them is starting to sprout. Now, I don't know where I would put a melon. I hadn't thought this far ahead because I really didn't think it would work. We don't have a vegetable patch, we only have a small garden. I grow everything in pots, really, because we don't have space for that kind of thing, and I don't have an allotment. But I'm sure that I'll find a big pot or something if we get that far. It's tempting to get your hopes up, but sometimes things sprout and then they just die off, and that's just the nature of gardening. I haven't planted anything out from there yet because they're too small. If I do them now, the root system is too young and too fragile, and they will just die if I plant them out now, so I've got to wait. Next up is my beans. So I tend to plant beans or peas in great big troughs and grow them up a trellis that we have. But I planted these beans like 2 weeks ago and nothing has happened. And I feel a bit, hopefully it's just a time thing and they will come up when they're ready to. Because I've never had a problem with beans or peas. They seem to be really easy growers, and it was a new packet. I had one bean left over, and I've put that in Mum's flower bed, but don't tell her. But yeah, beans are doing nothing right now, but let's hope that that changes. So I will keep you updated as to how this goes on. See you later. Excuse me.